Welcome to the Fantasy Football Show on SicEm365 Radio, presented by Brotherwell Brewing and Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac.
Motion man Landry. Mayfield sells the fake. Mayfield rifles. Touchdown. Landry.
Here's Paul Catalina, Steve May, and Grayson Grundhafer.
Welcome into the Fantasy Football Show here on SicEm365 Radio. And look, right off the bat, Merry Christmas, Steve. Let's just get into it.
Yes.
It's the holidays. Oh, I got a little beer on my hand there. A little Bridge Street Vit as Steve goes into the hidden herd.
Yep. Tastes like Christmas.
It does. Tastes like Christmas. And we are without Grayson Grundhafer. He is traveling to San Antonio today, so he is out. We are sans Grayson.
Good.
Tyler Bolden back to step in. So Tyler will help us do the showdown draft.
I did not,
which is Friday.
Promise that.
You're going to help. Yeah, that's what you are. You're pinch hitting for him.
You can do about as good as we've been doing. So
yeah. We were doing okay at the beginning of last week's showdown game, and then it just one of those things that just died. Like, oh, hey, look, we're winning $7.
What was it?
$4.
What was the Thursday night game?
The Thursday night game last week? I can't remember. But whatever, I remember this one of those things where like our first two picks in the Thursday night game did something really well, and like, oh, hey, we're doing all right. And then part of it is we kind of moved things around. That was the one where not the 49ers, they played the Cowboys. The Chargers and the Raiders.
Yes. Yeah.
So we were doing well, and then
yeah.
But it's championship week, Steve, and you and I sit here not in championship games.
No, this is in addition to everything else that 2020 has taken from us, this is one of my rare years without a championship appearance.
And this is where the melancholy sets in. You know, I start questioning, what's it all for? I feel... I was looking at pictures, Smokey and I were looking at pictures from 2020 today, and there was a picture of President Trump leaving that Tulsa rally where he had that, pained look on his face. That's about how I feel about my fantasy football season. Is I didn't sell out the Tulsa rally like I thought I was going to, and now I have to deal with it. But no, it's just there's so many going back. I had the 6th pick in my draft. I had the 7th pick in my draft. So I was able to, at the end of the first round, I picked Michael Thomas. Hey, look at that.
Yeah.
Then I picked Nick Chubb. Hey, look at that. Man, Paul's kicking butt and taking names in this at the 7th pick. These guys are still there. And then Michael Thomas promptly sprains his ankle. Nick Chubb hurt his knee in the 3rd or 4th week. And then... Kenny Golladay, he's hardly played this year, really.
Yeah.
All those things. My quarterback, Drew Brees and Matt Ryan are my quarterbacks. Matt Ryan started off fine fantasy-wise, and then he's gotten progressive work, except for last week where he actually had a good week. So, it's just been that kind of season with, I think COVID certainly added to a lot of the injuries, and then the uncertainty of oh my gosh, I got to plug somebody in now. And it made it hard, but I did make the playoffs in one league, and I was essentially a tiebreaker away from. I lost. I needed a win. But I was into the last week and needed a win and some help in the other league, and that was fine. But
it's definitely a time of the year where you do some self-reflection, go back and look at your draft and see where you missed and where maybe you found a hidden gem. But in the main league that I play in, this has been our 23rd year. My first 2 picks were Barkley and Mixon. Mm-hmm. So right off the bat, pretty quickly I was, behind the 8 ball trying to pick up players on the waiver. So I did make the playoffs, and as the 6th seed, I won my first round. But then last week in the semifinals, I knew it was going to be tough. Kyler Murray finally went off, which was good. I needed that, but it just wasn't enough. So in that league, just a quick shout out to father and son who will be going head to head, Darren Brock and Sam Brock in that one. Sam is actually the defending champion So
you know what? I wish them both the worst.
And then Darren, I don't think he'll mind me saying this, but Darren had one of the worst beats in the league we play in with Jarrett from Bowling for Soup. This is the 13th year in that one. And that league, I've actually, this is only the second year I haven't made the playoffs. I've won it 3 times. But Darren went into Monday night's game needing, I think, 8 points to win. And he had Roethlisberger and Claypool. So you're thinking, you're in pretty good shape. Well, Roethlisberger very quickly goes down -4 points because of turnovers. And long story short, Darren ended up losing by 1. So it stung quite a bit. But yeah, so of all the leagues that I really compete in and pay attention to, I usually at least make the championship in one of them. And this year, that is not the case.
Well, that's a bummer, Steve. And look, I can commiserate with you. It's terrible, to not make your playoffs. But people are in championship games this week.
Yes.
So we're here to help them out. And more or less this week, it's not necessarily losing people back and who's healthy enough. And, like I texted you guys last week on, this Drew Brees Taysom Hill thing really kind of wrecked my week. I mean, it really did, because then I had to make Taysom Hill was going to score as much as most quarterbacks were, because he's going to get a rushing. Tyler had a great point about Taysom Hill early on in the when we had him on before, is that he's going to get a rushing touchdown.
Yeah.
Which essentially, if he has an okay day passing, it can make up for if he doesn't have one of those. And if he has two rushing touchdowns and a passing touchdown, even if it's 1 yard, that's 18 points, and then whatever yards you're going to get out of him. So he's fine to play. I know that he's hard to watch if you're a Saints fan sometimes because he's not Drew Brees, but Drew Brees comes back off of, breaking all of his ribs, and the first half was really bad.
Yes.
And we knew that was going to happen, so we kind of overthought it, I'll say. I should have just put in Matt Ryan and rolled the dice because he had a better week. Now, that didn't ultimately cost me, the game. The other guy I played, I would have had to have. Part of it was Nick Chubb had a very average week, and then Cam Akers got hurt, halfway through that game that they lost to the, I almost like the kid on Big Daddy. The bleeping Jets, and they lost to the Jets. And so there was all that going on. So that's why I'm out. And look, that one of the game that we lost, it's the right to lose to one of the 2 teams that was in the other game. You're not going to beat them.
Yeah.
I mean, just how it is. And I have a feeling most years it's not like that in our league, but this year in particular, it's just, that's the way it fell. Those guys are just juggernauts and all the rest of us are, piecing together the lineups. I went back in all 13 weeks of the regular season. I never once, had the same lineup.
Yeah.
Never once. And that's not a recipe for, but not even week 1 to week 2.
Yeah.
So it's not.
I don't know if I've ever, that's an interesting point. I don't know if I've ever looked at it because I'm always
changing, but there's some weeks where my lineup's so dang good where if you're not on bye week, I don't have to do anything.
Well, and then at this time of year, you can look back at the schedule, and Darren and I were texting, and so if you ranked our teams by total points scored through the whole season, he was the 3rd lowest point total. Yet he finished with an 8-5 record. So that means that the schedule that you make randomly just kind of fell in his favor. Even though he wasn't putting out a lot of points, his matchups each week, he was playing people that also weren't, and it just kind of worked out that way. Did you see the tweets from Field Yates and Matthew Berry about the other really bad beat from the Pittsburgh game? So there was a guy that went into that Monday night game. He was ahead by 1 point. The other guy he was playing was done. And the guy that was ahead had Ebron and Juju playing. Ebron goes out pretty quick and gets a goose egg. Juju has the turnover, ends up with -5 points, and I forget how it works out, but the guy that was ahead ended up losing because of that turnover, and the other guy that was totally done. So that it was.
Yeah, and now there's a school of thought. If I'm up by 1 point, I'd bench people, and I would just say, "Look, I'm going to win this game." But then that's sometimes dirty pool in the league. But I would say, like, my thing is, and I would give this advice to anyone because we had this discussion with Taysom Hill, and why it's not.
Yeah.
Look, if you are just not the one who it happens to, just know that you can do it. Think of it as the way that politics works now. Look, if I'm going to pass a bill too fast and then complain that the other party didn't give me time to do this, well, you know what I can do? When my party's in charge, I'll just do the same thing. Yeah. That's my philosophy with fantasy football. Look, I'm not going to get mad over this and that, or, it's really hard to do shady things if you're not the commissioner in the league, because it's not like if we weren't the commissioner in the league, it's not like we get together and be like, hey, I'm going to trade you all my players in this, because the league's going to look and say, like, did you just trade Derrick Henry for 3 guys who were injured? And like, yeah, I want Paul to win. That's not going to happen. Yeah. So again, I just say let water roll off the duck's back, and if somebody has to bench players to win, man, that's just strategy. Yeah,
and I wouldn't be opposed to that. And what this year has done, going into next year, I think it's going to make commissioners think a little bit more about. So, like in our league, we're going to have a clear understanding before the next season starts. If someone gets a extra special designation for a position, how we're going to play that out. Yeah. Benching players when you're ahead, if that's going to be okay. Some leagues, I was listening to the Sirius XM Fantasy. Some leagues had failed to put in a tiebreaker, so they ended up with 2 teams in the playoffs having a tie, total score, and the ESPN default in that scenario is the higher seed advances, which I don't like that at all. So, in our league, if there's a tiebreaker, if there's a tie, the tiebreaker is total points scored by your running backs in those 2 spots. So that adds a little bit of strategy. You want to make sure you got 2 high-scoring running backs and maybe not one of them in your flex in that scenario. But like you said, it's just been a very strange year.
Well, look, I had a scenario, like I mentioned, that there was a guy in our league that he's in the military, and his job in the military is not one that he can talk about. Yeah. Well, he doesn't, he gets called away and he's gone for 3 weeks, and he can't exactly tell us when he's leaving. And so next year, what it's going to do is I'm going to get a co-owner for his team. Yeah. And that'll be fine. But that's what we'll do. I'm not going to kick him out of the league or anything. It's just how it worked out this year. He had a few more things to do to keep our country safe. But what happened was, and, we decided, like, we're just going to let it play out. The problem is when you're in a 10-team league and you play 13 games as opposed to a 12-team league, which we were just like a year and a half, like 2 years ago, which I didn't realize this last year wasn't such a big deal. But if you're in a 12-team league, you only play one team twice. Yeah. But if you're in a 13-team league, some people are going to play each other twice. Well, that meant that, some of us had him a few more times, and that wasn't really fair. So instead of 6 teams in the playoffs out of 10, I just decided to put 8, and then it worked out that the 9th team wouldn't have made it anyway. Like, and I got down to it where I told everybody I was going to come down to it that week if I had to and say, listen, I'll bow out of the playoffs since I played him twice and put the other team in if we're all our points or everything. That's fine with me, but just to make sure that it's right, because I got to play him twice. And I wound up in the playoffs, but fortunately the schedule fell that, like, he was out of the playoffs and then one other person was out of the playoffs. But had it been one of those things where there was a 4-way tie for, the last few spots, I was just going to say, I'll be out of it. Just, then I don't have to think about it and, cry when Nick Chubb, runs out of bounds to the 3-yard line and they throw a pass to the tight end. Those kind of things. So, but, things to look for this week, Steve, are, this is a great week this year in the NFL, particularly, for championship weeks, because nobody's clinched home field advantage yet. Like the NFC East and all these, like there's still some divisions that are a mess. Nobody's straight run away with certain things. So look, like the Chiefs still have to play. So you've got, players on plus teams that have to play. So some of those thoughts about this week.
Yeah. And that's a great point because it has worked out. Usually at this point, there's one or two teams that they've clinched what they want to clinch. And so they're already resting some players. Nobody should be doing that this week. So you should have the full, listing of everybody available on your roster. A little different schedule. There's a game Friday and 3 on Saturday. So you want to make sure you're on top of the rosters.
Matter of fact, that's our showdown game.
Showdown will be Friday. Yeah. Last week we mentioned maybe looking ahead and grabbing the Cleveland defense because the Jets are not going to win another game. They got their one. So they are not going to try.
Well, Cleveland needs to win. They have a shot to maybe get the division now.
Yeah. And that, where is that game? That is, it's a Sunday game. It's at New York. And I actually looked yesterday. I wasn't picking anybody up because I'm done. But Cleveland defense was still available in a lot. But the Jets are not going to do anything Sunday. They can still maybe get that top pick if Jacksonville screws up. But
Jacksonville has to win.
Yeah.
Because Jacksonville has the better strength of schedule.
Jacksonville's playing Chicago, so they probably won't win. But,
And, Chicago's another team that needs to win. So now, Kostaki Kanamopoulos and I do he does a thing. It's called All Pro Lines, and he's invited me to do it. And my line to him this week was, I said, okay, there's a guy who goes to the doctor, and the doctor says, listen, I've got good news and bad news. And the guys lay it on me. I said, okay, the good news is you don't have herpes, but you do have crabs. And that's how Trevor Lawrence feels about hearing like, hey, you're not a Jet, but you're a Jaguar.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and granted, those teams could turn it around in a sec, if they do the right things. I mean, everybody can, but they've both been really bad for a long time.
My boys were asking me which team would you want to go to? Because if you look at it, I guess maybe Jacksonville has a little bit more talent. But of the two, I would rather go to New York. And if you can go there and turn around a franchise in New York City, it'd be amazing.
It just comes down to me at that point where, because they're both bad franchises, is where do you want to live?
Yeah.
And, I'm a Florida boy, Steve.
Yeah.
I'm from Florida. There's a lot of places I would want to live. But I'm going to take New York City over Jacksonville, jorts-wearing, white trash Florida. If you want to talk like the real areas of like Florida man, Jacksonville is a hub of it. Yeah. So, I don't want to.
Well, and I love New York City, so it wouldn't even be a contest.
Well, look, and especially just with the fringe benefits of living in a city.
Yes.
Look, if you're the quarterback who wins for the New York Jets, look, you could be in Jeter territory when it comes to the ladies. It's just.
Well, and you're a big Broadway guy too, so.
I am. I'm not gonna lie.
I love it too.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'll do 10 songs from the Book of Mormon right now.
Excellent.
Yeah, I don't think we have the rights to that on our YouTube channel. So, unfortunately, people won't get to hear me sing. When we come back, let's dive into daily fantasy. Steve stopped my winning streak.
Yes.
Although I was very confident with my roster. It was a great week for actually all three of us. We all had 3 pretty solid rosters. So.
I had a good week.
Yeah, we had a good week. So that was maybe our best week as far as who's going to win this thing this week. It wasn't all out and about. And this week, Tyler gets to get in on the action and help us draft again in our showdown for Friday. This is the Fantasy Football Show, brought to you by Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, who repaired my car. I was in an accident. I was just there today. It's all fixed and running like it wasn't just in a terrible accident 2 months ago. And Brotherwell Brewing. Oh, the guys at Brotherwell. They are going to have us out there, and we're going to be hosting trivia here in a couple weeks, Steve.
We are giving Brotherwell beer as gifts to some people in our family.
Why would you not?
Yes.
I mean, like, they won't be mad at it.
No.
They won't be mad at it. This is the Fantasy Football Show on SicEm365 Radio.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to SicEm365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Welcome back into the Fantasy Football Show here on SicEm365 Radio. Paul Catalina, Steve May, Grayson Grundhafer off with his family for the holidays in San Antonio. So if you do ask the question, is anybody going to San Antonio? Pour one out for our old friend Charlie Pride. Yes, Grayson Grundhafer is. All right, so Daily Fantasy, Steve, this week. And I got to tell you, you should not have given me such good advice a couple weeks ago.
What was that?
You had me like I was overthinking a lot of it. And if you're in so if I'm doing the advice you gave me, and I'll give this to anybody because it was great, is look, if you're in one of these things on DraftKings that has 1,000 people in it or more, like all these people in it, make some reaches, make some good things, because that's how you're going to win.
Yeah.
You're not going to win if because everybody's going to have Derrick Henry. So, you're going to have Derrick Henry, but it's who you pair with him.
Yeah.
And all that. So you're going to make a couple reaches for some cheap, a guy that's worth $5,000 or $4,300 or something like that. Make a reach or something like that. Cole Kmet at tight end for $3,000 last week was, I thought, going to be my guy.
Yeah.
He didn't do that. But that's one of those things that you do, and that's where, you save money on something and you reach because they have a big game, and that's how you make money. But when me and you and Grayson, there's three of us. No, swing for the fences.
Yes. Yeah.
As much as you can.
Yeah.
Save maybe on just pick a defense that's not going to let you lose.
That's right.
And then take that extra $1,500 and put it towards your flex. Mm-hmm. And that's how you win. And that's what I've been doing the last few weeks. And huzzah, I'm winning. All over the place, as a matter of fact. So, but I have a friend of mine, she lives in Nashville, and we do a head-to-head each week, and I've been on fire. And I've been even telling her, just do what I'm doing. But she doesn't need my advice.
Yeah.
It's just I've kind of hit it where I'm going well right now. By the way, having fun also, just doing the tiers. I like doing that one.
I haven't done that one much.
So tiers, and it's look, if you want a little less pressure than trying to fill out a salary cap, what tiers are is they give you 6 tiers of players, and you have 4 or 5, 4 or more players in each one. So tier 1, so say the games in that time slot. So if you did one for Saturday, the Bucks are playing the Lions, Bucks, those 6 teams. So it takes you the 4 best players out of those 6 teams of the tier 1. So Tom Brady and I think the Chiefs are playing on Saturday, right? So
there's no salary cap.
So there's no salary cap, but say the Chiefs are playing. Well, tier 1 for the Chiefs could be Mahomes and Travis Kelce.
Right.
So that you can't have them both. So you have to pick which one is going to, be more. So then you go to the tier 2.
Yeah.
And so there's, Clyde Edwards-Helaire could be in that tier. And then something like that. So then you pick people all the way down until you get down to the bottom where you're like, there was a Raiders game I picked where Nelson Aguilar's in that one, and so you pick that. So you pick the people you think are going to be the best in those tiers.
Yeah, I need to try that one out. Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's kind of challenging in that, like, okay, at the top's pretty easy. Like all the people at the top in the top 2 tiers are probably going to do well. You're just picking, who's going to do better than whom. And then the bottom one, it's like, okay, which guy who is averaging 5 fantasy points a week is going to have 10 this week.
Yeah.
Like that's what you're doing. So it's pretty fun. I certainly recommend tiers if you want to do that. All right. Before we get to our draft with Tyler, has been working very hard on his picks across the way from us. It's pretty much what he's been focused on this whole time. Because he wants us to be in the money.
And sending Snapchats.
Well, you got to do what you got to do. You're a single man.
Yes.
Steve, people you like in DFS this week?
Oh, let's see here. An interesting play would be Mariota. Because we're not sure yet if Derek Carr is going to play or not.
And got good fantasy points. Like, you know why we lost last week? Why we weren't doing well is we had a great lineup, and then the dude who won, I sent you the screenshot of us next to him. He probably made 25 lineups in that dollar league that we were in, and he drafted Marcus Mariota in one of them.
Yep.
And that's how he won.
Yep. Just a wild, weird thing.
Yeah.
Yep. So he's coming in at 5,000. They're playing Miami. I think that's good. Now that is a excuse me. That is a Saturday game, so that would be for a different contest. But I like Trubisky against Jacksonville. He's coming in at 5,700. That's a great value. I also like Kyler Murray. He's coming in at 7,500 if you want to spend up a little bit on that. So running backs I like. Darrell Henderson. Akers probably isn't playing. So Henderson will probably be the lead back. He's only at $4,500. So again, if you want to go a little cheap somewhere and then beef up somewhere else on another position.
Well, that sounds like a strong flex play to me.
Yeah. Jeff Wilson, Mostert is out. Wilson's coming in at only 5,000. They're playing Arizona. That should be a good matchup there. And then actually like Singletary for Buffalo. They're playing New England. New England's out of it right now. Buffalo is already clinched. I think they kind of want to see a little bit more what they have in Singletary. He's coming in at only 4,400, so that's a good value there. Receivers, a few that I like here. I like Davis with Buffalo, again, playing New England. He's playing now a lot. He's at $3,500. Great bargain. I also like Moore with Carolina playing Washington. And then some of the ones I do not care for this week. Roethlisberger is a mess.
He's got noodle arm, man. He's looking every bit of 38.
So they really need to win. They're playing at home, but they're playing Indianapolis, who has a great defense. The over-under on that game is only 44.5, which is tied for the lowest projection this week. So the odds makers are not expecting a lot of points in that game. So I would shy away from a Roethlisberger if you can. I'm not a big fan of now this is a Friday game, but Kirk Cousins against New Orleans, I don't think that's going to be great. Also not a huge fan of Andy Dalton against Philadelphia. Both of these teams need to win. They're still in the running. I actually think Philadelphia is probably going to win that game, and I think Dalton may be sacked several times in that one. Running backs I do not like. Not a big fan of Nick Chubb this week. He's at 7,800, which is a little high. They're playing the Jets. I think they're going to get up quite a bit, so I think that may be more of a Kareem Hunt game. Also not a big fan of either of the Pittsburgh running backs, Connor or Snell. Against that Indianapolis defense. And then real quick, receivers to avoid. I'm not a big fan of either Seattle receiver for this week. They're playing the Rams. Rams are embarrassed for losing to the Jets. Their defense still is pretty good. So if you have a better option there. And then any of the Pittsburgh receivers right now, just because Roethlisberger is such a mess. I would try to avoid them if you see something better in there when you're picking your lineups.
All right. Okay, Tyler, you ready?
You know it.
Okay. So
what game we got? We've got
New Orleans and Minnesota.
Excuse me.
All right. So Steve, you won last week, so you get to make the captain's pick.
All right. Let's see here. My captain. Minnesota hasn't been eliminated yet.
No.
Yep. I'm going to go with Jefferson as my captain.
13-8 for Justin Jefferson at the captain spot. All right. Tyler.
I originally would have picked Kamara as the captain. I think he goes off this week, but I will plug in Jefferson, and that will save me money by going that route too. So thank you. Save everybody money.
So you're going to go Kamara here in this next pick?
I would go Kamara, yes.
All right. That leaves us with 24-8 for 4 people. Okay. 6,200 average. All right. I kind of think we're crazy here not to pick Dalvin Cook. But that's going to take away half of our money. So that means the last 3 picks are going to have to be efficient. Efficient.
Is Michael Thomas isn't playing this week?
Michael Thomas is not playing. Yep. So I am going to take Dalvin Cook.
All right.
All right.
And Thomas is on the IR now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we average 4,200 per player on the way out with 12-8 left. So we're going to have to get a little creative. So the next player I'm going to pick at $4,800 is Latavius Murray.
Okay.
Who seems to, kind of play out. So we've got $8,000 left between 2 players.
It's going to be tight.
And back to you, Tyler.
What was a pick earlier? I like a little Jordan Humphrey.
Oh, you do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, they're down receivers. He's 2,600.
The Saints?
Yeah.
Okay.
Little Jordan Humphrey. All right, you have $5,400 with which to work, Steve. And that gives you players like Irv Smith, Will Lutz, Dan Bailey, both defenses, Chad Beebe.
No. What's Traquan Smith?
He's at 6,400.
Okay. Let's do Will Lutz.
Will Lutz at 3,800, which gives us 1,600 to work with. So, do we want to get rid of Latavius Murray and spend up a little bit, or little Jordan Humphrey and spend up a little bit?
That's y'all. Those are y'all's picks. So.
Yeah. So it's 4,200 could get you the Saints defense.
I only did that because then you're going against.
Your own
your Dalvin Cook and yep.
All right. So, you know what? This might be the way we win. Little Jordan Humphrey.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do. Scored a touchdown last week.
Yes.
So, all right. With $1,600 left over, this is the lineup we're locking in. Tyler, how do you feel?
I feel great about it, honestly.
All right. He feels great about it. I feel great about it. Steve, you feel great about it.
Good. Yep.
So here we go. This is the one that we'll all retire on. Let me see what the maximum amount of money. I mean, I retire, between 3 people. I mean, it's like a $25,000 thing. So I don't think we're going to do that. But
the reason why I like Humphrey, though, is it doesn't really matter which receiver is in that Saints offense, because Drew Brees, if he figures out a way to mesh with him, which he usually does, then they can have a breakout game.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. When we come back, we'll wrap it up with Stardom Sit-Em and Stacy's questions to start it off with. Did we decide we're going to do a show next week and wrap it up, or is this the...
I thought tonight was last.
Tonight's the last one. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess it makes sense since there's nothing to talk about next week other than just wrapping it up. So we'll kind of wrap up the fantasy football season after this on this final episode of the season of the Fantasy Football Show, brought to you by Brotherwell Brewing and Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, here on SicEm365 Radio.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to SicEm365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas, familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Welcome back into the Fantasy Football Show here on SicEm365 Radio. Paul Catalina, Steve May, Tyler Bolden, Grayson Grundhafer. Not on the last show, as he selfishly spends time with his family over the holidays. I'll tell you, I'm kind of relieved that I'm not in the playoffs over Christmas weekend.
It is.
I can focus on what matters.
Less pressure and. But it still stings a little bit. And that's where I was talking to a buddy this last week, and I think we mentioned it on the first episode of the show. Daily fantasy kind of gives you a little extra outlet from season long. Yeah. If your season long just doesn't pan out, every week is a new week with daily fantasy, and you can experience highs and lows, and thankfully, overall for this year, I've ended up in the black with my daily fantasy winnings, which has been nice. So,
yeah, I'm up too. I'm happy, very happy after this year. Okay, here are Stacy's questions. My college roommate, Stacy E. Reed, Esquire, attorney at law. He sends us questions every week. He's got 4 questions this week. Thoughts on which flex waiver wire running backs are going to put up RB1 numbers this week? Zach Moss, Giovanni Bernard, Sony Michel, or Barry Snell? Benny Snell. Benny Snell. You don't like Benny Snell.
Don't like Benny Snell.
Not nuts about Sony Michel.
No.
Giovanni Bernard. The minute that a running back in that offense makes a mistake, they get pulled.
Well, and so they're looking to next year. I don't think Bernard's going to be on that roster next year.
No, he's been on a long time.
So I think they're looking at Williams, and P. Ryan, and so out of those, I would go with Moss.
Yeah. So Zach Moss, and he's a touchdown vulture. So he's the 1 yard line guy for them.
And that I was talking to one of my sons about next year, and this year has clearly set the stage for a lot of good, solid running backs for next year. Moss, Akers, Dobbins. Those will probably all be first or early second round picks in most fantasy drafts next year. Jonathan Taylor. So, Akers I drafted and ended up cutting in most of my leagues just because he wasn't doing much. And now, he finally showed that he is the number 1 there. So next year, I think this could be a great play.
Yeah.
1 year. 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 1
Lockett has 1 touchdown since week 7. Safe to bench him against the Rams? You say yes.
Yes.
I mentioned earlier in the daily fantasy segment, you don't like either of those receivers this week.
Well, and it would help knowing what else is on his bench, but just looking at Lockett, I don't like that matchup.
Yeah. Colts versus Steelers. Who's worth playing in this matchup?
Taylor. Pittsburgh has to win.
Deontay Johnson, maybe?
That's who I would go with, Johnson. And then, T.Y. Hilton had been on a tear. He didn't do much this last week, but I think he'd probably be safe.
Okay. And is Matt Ryan worth starting against Kansas City this week? After last week's performance?
I don't know. Again, if depends on what you...
what you have, but...
Yeah.
I mean, it's championship week, so.
Yeah.
Would you roll with him on championship week?
Probably not.
Okay. So, Matt Ryan. All right, there's your answer. Okay, Steve, start him, sit him.
This week for quarterbacks, unfortunately, I do like Jalen Hurts against Dallas. I don't think that defense, those linebackers are going to be chasing him all over. I think Hurts is a great play. This week, I expect Philadelphia to win. Also, real quick, another shout out to me from last week because I did call Antonio Brown getting his first touchdown.
Yes.
With
sorry about that.
With the Buccaneers, and that did happen. So there you go. So like Hurts, I do like Tannehill against Green Bay. Those are two, I think, must plays. I do not like. I actually don't like either quarterback in that Pittsburgh-Indianapolis matchup. I don't like Rivers, really. I don't like Roethlisberger. If you have a better option, I would go that way. And then where'd he go here? Bridgewater. If you got Bridgewater, you're probably not having to play him. But if you're thinking about it, I would not play him against Washington front four. I think that's going to be a bad matchup there. For running backs, I do like, where did he go? Pay attention to who's going to play for Dallas, if it's going to be Pollard or Zeke.
Zeke says he's going to try and go.
Yeah.
For what that's worth.
If it's Zeke, I don't like that. He's just not explosive this year. I do like Pollard if he's in there. I do like Dobbins against the Giants for Baltimore. And, again, we talked about him last week and the last few weeks. David Montgomery's just been on fire. They're playing Jacksonville. Chicago should win that game easily. They should get up by quite a bit. So I like Montgomery. I would shy away from any of the Arizona running backs, Drake or Edmonds. That's kind of a mess right now. If you got either one of them, they're not getting you enough points. I know that the hard way. McCaffrey is probably not going to play. Mike Davis has been a big disappointment the last couple weeks. So I would shy away from Davis if you can. And then for receivers, I do like, if he plays, again, he's kind of questionable. Keenan Allen, I do like him against Denver. Denver was just a joke defensively this past week against Buffalo. I expect Herbert and the Chargers to kind of have their way with Denver this week. I do like Mike Evans against Detroit. I think that's a good play. I would shy away from. We already talked about the Seattle receivers. Lockett would be one I would definitely shy away from. I think Cooper's going to be Amari Cooper for Dallas is going to be in a tough spot this week, so I wouldn't play him. I would look more towards Lamb or even Gallup. Gallup had a decent week last week. So,
all right, good deal. All right, thank you, Steve. Just as we wrap up this fantasy football season, Steve, after the first week of the season, Richard Carr had suggested to us that we do a fantasy football show. And Smokey said, do you want to do it? I said, yeah, sure, I'll do it. It'd be fun. I'll get Steve May. So you're the first person I sent you a text. I said, do you want to do a weekly fantasy football show with me? And 30 seconds later, you said, yes, let's do it.
How much does it pay?
Yeah, and I said, you get beer.
Okay.
And you were like, all right, good deal. And then I locked down Brotherwell, and thanks to David and Jacob and HBK, everybody over at Brotherwell. They're great. And we're excited. We're going to be doing trivia there in a couple weeks, which is I guess it'll be the Thursday after New Year's. So we'll be there, and we're going to have our own category that Steve and you and I need to get together, in a top secret location and work up those questions.
Yep.
And what our category is going to be.
80s snuff films.
It's more of a you thing. But we have so we'll have our own category, and they have different categories that they take care of every week. So it's a fun trivia. So come out and see us there. It'll probably be inside because it'll probably be cold. But if the weather's nice, it'll be outside. So you can come out and they'll have they always have a food truck there. It'll probably be Po' Boy Place. Which, Steve, have you been to Po' Boy Place yet?
I have not.
It is wonderful.
All right.
It is wonderful.
Good deal.
It'll change your perspective on humanity. I'll just tell you right now, it's that good.
Good. I need that right now.
Like, you've been walking around going, man, 2020, you're kind of down on the world, and you have a hot chicken po' boy from Po' Boy Place, and I'm going to show this to them so they buy advertising, but it will change your outlook on humanity.
Good deal.
Did you have one in New Orleans when Baylor was in the Sugar
I did
Bowl?
have a po' boy in New Orleans when I was there. I went to Mother's, which is the place to go.
I'm not a big po' boy sandwich fan, but it sounds like this place.
It's different. I mean, it's like, and again, like, so if you're in New Orleans, you're gonna get like they do legit, like, with the Fair D and all that stuff. They do that, but you also get like they have kind of specialty stuff too. So you're not gonna just have shrimp or oysters or whatever. They have hot chicken, or they have one that's like a Dr. Pepper barbecue sauce chicken, and they have different things that they kind of come up with every week that are very cool. But yes, Tyler and I earlier, in 2020. Back before things, just
in the before times.
Yeah, in the before times, we had a good time in New Orleans for a few days.
We did.
When most of it, I remember most of it. It was all very clear to me. The worst day of the whole thing was the Sugar Bowl, and not just because Baylor lost, but because, and I didn't know this, having gone to several games of the Super Bowl, the Superdome over my time. The press box is open air in a dome. It's also all the way up top, underneath the air conditioning unit.
Nice.
That cools the entire Superdome. So you might as well wear a parka. Yeah. But other than that, we had a good time. We spent New Year's Eve at Pat O'Brien's, as a matter of fact.
The Superdome, going back to that, has the slowest elevator in the country.
Nice.
So you better make sure your phone is charged, because if you're in that elevator, you may run out of battery by the time you get to the top.
Yeah, and it was cold. We were all huddled together for warmth.
Here's a odd fact about me. As much as I have traveled the country, and I have, and the world a little bit, I have never been to New Orleans.
Never been to New Orleans?
No.
Really?
Never have.
Never. Like, you're in pharmaceuticals, so I would think that there's one convention there or something?
Nothing. Never had. I've driven through there, but never had an opportunity to go there and actually do things. So that is
post-pandemic. And New Orleans is kind of a place like Vegas in that you don't have to go for a week. Like if you're going to go to the Bahamas or something, you want to go for a week because you got to travel all that. You can do a 3-4 day weekend in New Orleans
and be good.
To go.
Okay, all right.
I mean, it's.
Could you imagine if the COVID timeline was pushed back to January of last year, like early January, and think about Bourbon Street on New Year's Eve? That could have been a disaster.
Super spreader.
Well, I mean, look, and I thought about that. I mean, because it's a month later, and we're shutting everything down. And I thought, like, man, a month ago, Tyler and I, Elliot Coffey, former Baylor linebacker, was with me. Yeah, like we were walking through some pretty crowded places.
Well, in February of this year, I was in Las Vegas for work.
In February of this year, I was in Miami. One of the places that got really bad. So I've been to New Orleans and Miami early 2020. I didn't get COVID. So I guess, I mean, so far so good.
Yeah, you just jinx it.
It's crazy to think that, and how COVID affected the football season, the fantasy football season. This has been, as far as setting your lineup every week, there's not going to be another year like this.
No. And, the NBA is feeling the effects tonight. They've had a game already postponed. But
is it that contact tracing is because of James Harden?
They said it wasn't, but...
It feels like it is.
Yeah. But getting back to the origin of this show and doing it, and I appreciate you reaching out to me. It brought back good memories of when the two of us did the radio show with our good buddy Steve Fallon, and that turned into our big citywide league that we did.
The Pipe Stud, if you're interested in
for pipes
in high dollar pipes.
But
Steve Fallon,
if you're into fantasy football. Seriously, like you're really strategizing and getting ready for your drafts and week to week, you're inundated with information. There is plenty of places, free places where you can go get information. There are pay sites. There's a whole satellite radio station devoted to fantasy sports. And so what I found, some of the feedback I got about our show was we were kind of what people use to, if they were on the fence, and they had been listening to fantasy sports all day in their sites, and they were getting information either way. We were kind of the tiebreaker on things.
And you know what Stacy told me? He said the one thing that he's like, he listens to some shows like Dalvin Cook is a must play. Well, of course he is.
Yeah.
But yes, he's a must play. We don't really do that.
No.
We don't waste our time on that. We are going to go into, all right, look, here's something that look at this, look at that. That's what we kind of focus on, because that's what we want to do is, like this guy behind me right here, play him every week.
Yeah.
He's going to do 2,000 yards.
Like that,
I don't need to tell you that.
On my receiver rankings this week, the top four: Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley.
You're not going to not play those guys. So what we want to do on this show is tell you, look, once you've got your studs in the lineup, where do you find the matchups that will help you when you're splitting hairs? Yeah. And that's exactly the feedback I got. And that was not even what we really planned. I mean, it's just what we did, because I think you and I and Grayson have the same kind of philosophy of, well, yeah, I know you're going to – yes, of course you're going to play Mahomes.
Right.
He may not have as many points against the Colts as he did against the Jets, but, you're going to play Mahomes. He's a special player. At any week against any player, any team, he could have 5 touchdown passes because he's that damn good. So what we want to do is, okay, who are the ones who have favorable matchups, and let's highlight those for you.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. And a lot of people had a part in this, thanks to the guys at SicEm365 for – being a Baylor recruiting site starting out and then doing this and say, we'll do a fantasy football show. We'll do all these things to increase our content. Thanks to David Smoak and Craig Smoak and, for being so supportive of this. Next year, we're going to get Jennifer Smoak, who we have a weekly segment with, who's in our league. We're going to have her on our show a few times. She's quite a savvy fantasy football player.
That's what I've heard. And
very, very savvy. And
we should get an original theme song.
We should.
Yes. I'm working on that.
Okay.
Yes.
From who? It's not us, right?
No.
We don't have to come up with it.
No.
I'll play the spoons.
Yes. I'll do the jug.
Yeah. So that'll be great. And actually, you know what? One of the plans I have for next year, if we can make it work, is, let's get some of our guests like Kostaki and Jared and some other new people, and Jennifer, us, Tyler, Armstrong. Let's do a 10-team league of other people.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
And have it we'll have a draft special. Maybe pick a listener or two that can jump in on that and be in the league with us.
That'd be good. Yep.
Tyler's already said yes. He's in. He's part of the fantasy football show family. So
could even go a step further and do some kind of weekly pick'em thing. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we could do all that stuff and grow this show out. And this was, and when I tell you, the first couple weeks we were thrown together. We did the first show from my house. Audio only.
Oh, that's right.
And then the second,
forgot about that.
And then the second show we did here.
Yeah.
I mean, so
I already forgot about that.
Yeah, we and this has been a testing ground for a lot of things that we're going to do in the future here on SicEm365 Radio and SicEm365.com. It's really fun. We, next year, now that we kind of have interaction figured out, we can Skype in some listeners and different things like that and have them pop on and ask us questions. So there's lots to come in the future on this show. So
yeah, and it's been good for my brand. They're for a while, with the radio station and the league and being known as the commish. I got up to a good C-level local celebrity status, and that kind of waned a little bit so now I'm looking forward to.
Well, those of us on the B- level, you know what's funny? I used to get asked to do a lot of things, and then they started doing, and then we started getting Magnolia stuff.
I was a judge for a winging contest for about 3 years in a row.
Yeah, so people used to ask me to do a lot of things, and then all of a sudden Magnolia pops up, and then they'll call me and they'll say, "Hey, do you know Chip?
Yes.
Do you know how we can get Chip and Joanna?" I'm like, well, I'm happy to help you out. And they're like, yeah, but you're not Chip. So
I had no idea who Chip and Joe was until I moved to Waco.
Yeah.
Well, I hate to admit that because I'm not very pop cultured, or I wasn't. Now I am. But that was,
Yeah, so that's, I was at my high school reunion 2 years ago, and a girl I haven't seen in 20 years, the first thing she came up to me, she like put both of her arms like on me, like she hugged me, grabbed my arms and said, do you know Chip and Joanna? I said, well, no, saying I know them would be like a long stretch.
Yeah.
It's like, we've met once or twice, but like that was, so maybe we can get him on here. I don't know. Well, I'll swing for the fences.
And that, as annoying's the wrong word about that, but that is the common thing when people say, oh, you're from Waco, they'll ask about Magnolia. That is a much more positive change than I'm from Waco. Oh, the Branch Davidians.
Yes. So that's why I'll never say a bad word about them.
No.
Because now it's about a television show.
Yes.
It's kind of like being from Albuquerque and be like, ooh, Breaking Bad. Yes, okay, we'll take it.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, no. I mean, and that like you have to qualify like, no, I don't know anything about meth if you're from Albuquerque. But nobody's saying from Albuquerque, like, oh, you must be really into turquoise jewelry. Because of Breaking Bad. It's the same thing with us here in Waco. So thank you to everybody. Tyler and Armstrong, who produced our show all year.
Yes.
Week in and week out, did a fantastic job and participated. Armstrong, I don't know what he did. We should have called him and find out how he did in the championship.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, no, it's a 2-week championship, wasn't it? Was it 2-weeker?
Grayson's doing the two. I think
Grayson's a 2-week championship. So we'll have to find out from Armstrong what he did. And look, if you're a person like Armstrong next year and you want help with your team, we will doctor up your team. Armstrong was in a bad way.
Yes.
That was bad.
And all it took was one night of revelations about how bad
like, I have 3 defenses and 2 kickers. Like, oh my gosh. Stop. All right. That's going to do it for us. Thank you so much, Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. Thank you so much to Brotherwell Brewing. And look, get down there probably tonight. I don't know if they're going to be open tomorrow or not. But and look, and after the new year, like, hey, getting ready for whatever small socially distanced New Year's party you're going to have, Brotherwell Brewing is a great place to go. If you forget a Christmas gift for someone, if you forget, and maybe you have some time before you have to see them, they're a craft beer person, Brotherwell, especially maybe if they live out of town. If you're in Dallas or something like that, help spread the word about Brotherwell Brewing. All right, that's going to do it for us. This is the Fantasy Football Show. Have a great championship weekend, everybody, and Merry Christmas.